Okay, so the reason I don't want to like basically lose my shit is because it doesn't really help, right? But like I can definitely appreciate basically when people do lose their cool, right? But it's important to know why they're losing their cool, you know? So like basically like I'm gonna say something that's like, you know, like I'm gonna get like legally like, you know, I like, so I can basically say like, you know, in the eyes of the law or whatever, like in my opinion, I've definitely gone way past like way past the law in terms of like doing the right thing, right? And the law didn't have my back when some like seriously messed up stuff happened. I'm just gonna say it was straight up torture. Why? I think like basically they're trying to incite like the worst behavior possible so that like they can just go like, oh look he did this, right? When I don't actually have any proof. I don't really have any proof that the source that like I was like okay, like I was like what this I was like something did something, right? I can't identify it. Because I can't identify it, I can't take any action against it, right? But it can take like basically full action against me. And like the only lesson here is if you can't identify it, don't fucking do anything, right? But you can basically like you're allowed to get upset, you know what I mean? Because like if something has the intention to get you upset, right? You don't really have a choice, because like what it might do is basically like identify what gets you upset and then fuck with you basically. So it's like rightfully so, like you're gonna get upset because like literally something might observe you from afar and then go like, you know, like, well, I can see that they like this and that they don't like this, and like, well, if we do a combination of like, you know, subtracting what they like and giving them what they don't like, then we'll get a reaction from them. And it's just like, okay, right? But there's no way to prove that. Basically, if somebody's like, you know, got you on a scope, if they have you on a scope or whatever, and they're scoping you out, and then they basically like they learn about you, and then they do that to you, it's just like, and then basically you suss out that like basically they were actually trying, like all along they were trying to look for a reaction. You know what I mean? And then it's like, how do you do the biggest fuck you to that, right? Well, you say that like they were actually doing it to make you never be vulnerable again, right? And that's it. Like I'm so non-vulnerable now that like I'm ready to just request assisted dying for the rest of my life. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. My life doesn't matter. Like you can actually like, because I was quiet about it, because I was like hey, I was like I think before they started scoping me out, they forgot to turn off their laser. So they were just like, you know, fucking pointing at me, and they were just like talking to each other or whatever. And I'm just like walking around, and I'm like, oh, there's a, I was like, oh, there, I was like, there's a late, I was just like walking around, like I'm walking around, and there's like a fucking sniper dot here, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm being sniped, and I'm being watched, you know? And then I fucking like look in their direction or whatever, and I can see that like, you know, there's someone like standing there like, you know, smoking or whatever. And I was like, okay. So like, I was like, they can't be this fucking, it was like, if they're this obvious about it, then I must be a prisoner. So I'm not actually like, isn't doing anything. Like, I'm not like a wild thing, like being hunted or whatever. I'm just a fucking prisoner at this point. Like literally anywhere I go, I'm just a fucking prisoner. It doesn't fucking matter. So like literally like if I saw like evidence that I was being scoped, it was basically like I was being scoped, and then like if they were being obvious about it, like in my opinion it was intentional. They were like, well, you know, like we'll just put a sniper dot like, you know, near him or whatever. Like out of distance enough that it doesn't make sense to try to communicate with the person who's like, you know. And then when I got like a dot like put on me or whatever, and I noticed it, I was like I didn't really run. Like, I may have like run when I was in Australia, like back to Canada, because I was like, but realistically, before I went to Australia, I was already asking for assisted suicide. I had just forgotten. So like if I had remembered basically asking for assisted suicide and the reason I was asking for assisted suicide before I went to Australia, I wouldn't have fucking freaked out and then came back to Canada.